As we heal ourselves, we heal each other as well. And if we really want to make an impact in the world, if we really want to love our people for real, we gotta pour into ourselves.
Welcome back to another episode of the Walking Towards Light podcast. This is my third episode now, and I'm honored to be here with a special guest. Her name is Odyssey. She's a healer. She's a astrology specialist, astrocartography specialist, sound healer, teacher, coach, everything. Welcome.
Peace. Thanks for having me.
Look, it's amazing being in your space. I appreciate you for having me here. This weekend has been a true honor to be here in Miami, and connect with y'all and be in this moment of like acceptance of who I am and being in that and it's like when you're around somebody and they just automatically get you. It's like, that's amazing. And I haven't felt that in a minute, just like on my journey to be around people like that, to where like I could just throw something up and you be like, yeah, I know what that is. I think that's so special, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise. I honestly appreciate that we speak the same language.
Yes.
And I don't have to like spend too much time like helping you catch up to anything. So
Exactly.
everything could just flow. And it took so much inner work to get here.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't just happen where you just meet people that truly speak your language. There's work that needs to be done, and I'm just
Always.
This is like a testament of my progress.
Yep. Exactly. I would say likewise, it takes work, it takes manifesting, it takes living in that, being your true self. Because it's like the more you're yourself, the more you attract things that's like yourself. And, I would feel like for you, going through, like, looking at your Instagram, doing my little research and stuff like that is like one of the things that stuck out with me that you spoke about is just turning pain into purpose. Yeah, and when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's real. I feel like your way of how you maneuvered through your experiences and to be able to alchemize, turn that darkness into light. I feel like that's beautiful. And I wanted to show that to the world. I just want you to kind of take us down that road of like, how did you get through that darkness? And how did it lead you into where you at now? Let's kind of start from like the beginning of things, like where it began.
If I understand correctly, the beginning of my spiritual journey,
but also just that darkness, just some experiences with the darkness into why that led you, because, it all comes from something.
Right. I was always a highly sensitive individual.
Yeah.
Like super defensive.
Yeah.
Wow, incredibly defensive. And just like ready, like survival mode, like ready for smoke.
Yeah.
That was really me at one point. Like it's really interesting to reflect on that. And I also love to learn. And it was a matter of not being in enough environments that allowed me to learn what I needed.
Yeah.
And I would say my journey really started in college. I pursued criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
And what many people don't know is that when you pursue criminal justice, you're studying the human development, the human mind, and then what is likely to make them partake in criminal activity.
Yeah.
So it put me in a space of learning about all this psychology, sociology, and it really made me look at myself and look at where I come from.
Wow.
Look at the people around me, and it helped me assess myself. And being that it had me reading and I put myself in positions of like studying in libraries and stuff like that, I came across a book. It was called A Highly Sensitive Person. And
Wow.
I was just like, yeah, let me get that. And mm, that book really, I had no idea it was going to talk about spirituality.
Yeah.
So I'm over here like, this is going to be some science. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And it really broke down that as, well, or, how can I express this? Our spirituality makes us sensitive. And it brought light to just everything I felt.
Yeah.
It was me. My sensitivity was related not only to trauma, but also my spiritual gifts, my psychic abilities. Like
Wow.
I'm an empath. I pick up on everything around me. I
Yeah.
didn't know that a lot of my anger wasn't mine. And like really processing through that really started everything. And then in that book, they talk about chakras. They talked about color healing.
Yeah.
It mentioned how when a lot of people start their spiritual journey, they're drawn to the color green and pink. And at that point in my life, my whole house was pink.
Mm-hmm.
My wardrobe was like pink. It was during like there was a phase like in the like 2012, 13 where like rose pink came out, and it was like
Yeah.
a big thing in fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really like what started me looking at myself.
Yeah.
And also my juvenile justice class, it talked about how we're being influenced by the media.
Yeah.
Everything that we watch, everything that's in front of us, like a lot of the prisons are owned by the same people that own these TV channels and the entertainment industry. So like looking at the chain of events on how we're being manipulated,
Yeah.
that really made me get rid of my TV, stop listening to music,
Yeah.
and just really tune in like, who is Odyssey?
Yeah.
Like, who was I before the world touched me?
Yeah.
And that started my music hiatus, my lyric hiatus. I did
Yeah, I
3
remember.
years, no lyrics.
Wow.
And that really like, really made me, that made me even more sensitive, but in a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was speaking
deep.
to Indigo earlier about that. You know, it was just like everybody having their spiritual journey of like that moment once you start uncovering things and you like, it just blow the roof off of your head with things. And it's like, you have to find a new way to maneuver through the world now because you have a new lens once you go through that spiritual awakening. And it's like, you know, sometimes that can be dark too, you know, just trying to navigate through that and how you will, you know?
It is dark because you don't really have people to talk to about it.
Exactly.
And the majority of people in my life, at least, they don't want to go into deep conversations. They don't want to go into philosophical concepts. They don't want to face their traumas. They don't want to talk about the darkness. They just want to drink, have fun, go shopping, gossip, watch TV. So it's a very lonely, and like all you want to do is talk about the stars.
Yeah, and it's like you want to just tell everybody, right? You so excited about it because you just want to just talk, but it's not like, it won't be like that.
No.
But you realize, you start thinking that you're lonely, right? But loneliness, I think it's beautiful when you replace it with solitude.
Yes.
Instead of just thinking about just being lonely, actually kind of reversing that and looking at it in a space that it's good to be by yourself. It's good to be able to hold good company with just you.
And you know, it's not just about being alone. It's also about what you do with that time alone. Because a lot of us are alone, but we're doom scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
We're binge watching TV.
Yeah.
We're on the phone gossiping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember you telling me that you from the Bronx, but was you born in the Dominican Republic?
I was born in New York City.
Okay.
And I grew up moving back and forth from North Carolina and New York. And I pretty much spent the same amount of time in both states.
Yeah.
Like I added up the numbers. However, like my most pivotal years for my womanhood happened in North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah. I am Dominican descent. I was raised in America by Dominicans who don't speak English.
Mm.
So it was like I was born in DR. It feels
Yeah.
like it at
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
Exactly.
I didn't start assimilating to the American culture till I was about 19, 20.
Wow.
Yeah, like regular, like something as simple as like knowing who Serena Williams was. I didn't know that till I was like 20.
Wow.
Yeah, like I'm still catching up to like all the mainstream movies and food.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So in a sense, it definitely was like a slow process with that. Being in the Bronx too, that's a different experience too. You know, the Bronx. Excuse me. I've heard a lot about the Bronx.
The Bronx is an interesting place.
Yeah.
It was all I knew for a long time, and
Yeah.
it took me to leave the Bronx to recognize where I actually came from.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you left the Bronx how old were you when you left the Bronx?
Let me think here. The first time I left the Bronx, I was 9,
Mhm.
so 5th grade. Then I went back to the Bronx for high school,
Yeah.
and then I left like sophomore year back to North Carolina, and then I came
Mhm.
back to New York for college, did freshman year there, and then I went
Yeah.
back to North Carolina,
Wow.
and that's where I finished college. And then I didn't move back to New York.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
like,
you said North Carolina was like pivotal for you, right? It was.
yeah. I did middle school there, and I did college. I dropped out of high school. I got my
Wow.
GED in New York.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school, got my GED. I didn't really go to high school then. And then I tried college in New York, and it didn't work out too well.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was just working like retail jobs, and then I went back to college, and I did the whole thing in North Carolina.
And you finished? You graduated?
I graduated, yeah.
Shout out to you. You did it for me because I didn't. I didn't finish.
Fine.
I didn't finish college, you know.
I
Everybody have different journeys.
I've learned that college is what you make it. College is not what they tell you.
Yeah.
And even though I was in college, I studied and at home and read hella books. I'm still studying. Like you can create your own curriculum at home.
You can.
Yeah.
You can really learn things from books. You know, everything is so accessed to you at your hand.
That's really what it is. College is really like a teacher telling you how to study and opportunities to network.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because that was my thing with college for me. It was just like, I realized there's a pattern because it's like, I do well when it's me, right? That's a very Leo aspect, you know, like I think that showed in various different ways of like, the only way I can really be focused and locked in is me charging myself with that energy to doing it. But like I realized like if I have to like be somewhere at a certain schedule or I'm going to be graded at something and it's not at my will, I never performed the best. Even though I could perform the best, I feel like I could have been a good college student, a good high scoring college student, but it was the thought of like, oh, I gotta do this. I have to have this paper turned in. I have to do this. But like, learning was, I learned that I love learning after college.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I love that you mentioned that because I also noticed, like through college, I traveled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I could do that was going to school online. And I realized I was a much better performer. Like in grade school, like I made terrible grades and I was an honor student in college. And I'm like, what's the difference? And the real difference was, one, I chose what I was studying. And two, I was virtual. So I had the opportunity to study at my own pace, discipline myself, and I did so much better.
Yeah.
This whole thing about like arriving on time.
Yeah.
What is it? Student participation. All these like little details were not for me.
Yeah, it's different. You know, it's like I move in my own heartbeat. Like a lot of people move at their own heartbeat and do better in that factor.
It's about creating more opportunities to even discover that about yourself. Exactly.
When I tell you, I didn't like reading at all. Like when I was in college or even in high school, I wasn't a fan of reading. I didn't have a book that I would be reading just at home by myself, you know? It would just be me. I'll just be like, well, I'm just going to read this book because I know that I have to do it for a paper or some type of test, right? But that yearning for books and learning came after college, to where I found one book that I really loved, and it was just a wrap from there. And it's like, once you find that one book and that you're interested in that book, it's like, phew,
It's mind-boggling.
the book collection is crazy.
I love that. Yeah, my book collection, it's been through some things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went through this phase of my journey where, like, I was a minimalist.
Yeah.
I got rid of all my books.
I remember you telling me that.
Got gifted them, and then I'm like, no, okay, I need to get my library together because I want
Yeah.
to leave my books behind.
Yeah.
Especially for my culture, like the stuff that I've been able to study and discover about life, it's not really common for people in my culture to be in tune with. So
Wow.
it's really deep.
Yeah, definitely. I can understand that. So in college for you, like, what was the thing that really opened your mind up to, like, whoa, like, that shifted that consciousness in you? Because what was that thing?
It was my juvenile justice class.
Yeah, it was a
Everything in
you're right.
juvenile justice is all this information that really pissed me off. I feel like everyone should study juvenile justice growing up. Like, as a juvenile, we should be studying juvenile justice so we can understand how we're impacted by our environment, how we're impacted by the things that we experience, and I feel like give us an opportunity to choose.
Yeah.
Because we're just thrown out there.
Yeah.
And we don't know that we're being influenced by the music. We're being influenced. Commercials, yeah, we like sales. We like to make money.
Yeah.
But commercials are manipulative.
They
Like,
are. They
it
like,
was just
yeah, come. Yeah,
fucking
they like,
nuts.
come to this restaurant. Come, please.
You hungry? Hunger gets what hunger wants. Where's my Snicker bar? No,
Yeah,
seriously.
Exactly.
And look at that. Eating a Snicker bar when you're hungry is the most unhealthy thing to do. But look at what I'm saying.
Yeah, because commercials work so crazy.
It's crazy.
It would literally trigger you and be like, you know what? I actually can get some Taco Bell today.
Right. And the concept nature versus nurture. Like, really understanding, like, is it my environment or is it in my DNA? All of that information just made me go within. Like, it really made me retreat and, like, yo, am I really me? Like,
Yeah.
do I dress this way because I want to?
Wow.
And then I realized everything I was doing was influenced by the media. Nothing was me. Nothing was authentic to me, like the way I dressed, the way I did my hair, my why to wear perfume, or everything I did. Like, truly, the nightlife wasn't really me, but it was what I knew.
That's what you felt like you should have been doing at the time, right?
I didn't even think.
Yeah.
It was like,
just, you was going, yeah.
This is what's happening.
Yeah.
And then, like, I remember growing up, the song, how could I put this? Like, the music, like, move, beat, get out.
Yeah, the way.
Like, now I'm cursing.
Yeah.
Like, or all the songs, like, true, I was pretty promiscuous growing up. Trauma related as well. However, it was in the music influencing me. And I noticed, like, my behavior shifted once I stopped listening to certain music, once I stopped watching certain things. Essentially, like, I was really angry for a while.
Yeah.
I felt like bamboozled in life. We're supposed to be in the land of the free, and we're not free.
Yeah.
Like, free is a state of mind. It's a state of being. It's not necessarily what we are given. It's a choice. And I thought it was given to me.
It was given.
Yeah, because I'm not a slave.
Exactly.
I'm free, but really the media is controlling me.
Yeah.
It was wicked.
But you have the freedom to get out of that, though.
It's up to you.
It's up to you to get out of that freedom.
It's up to
I mean, out that chain.
And I graduated, and I didn't pursue criminal justice. I realized my last semester I wouldn't be happy working as a cop, because my goal was to be an undercover detective. So I had to be a cop. I realized that wasn't going to work for me. And I'm sharing that detail to say, like, I have no regret. It was because that route brought me here. So it's like about like giving yourself permission to follow your heart, to change your mind, to transmute energy. Yeah.
And that path of freedom is it's like once you get to that point and you realize that, like, it's like, because I think the hard part about freedom is like it's a lot of belief systems that get involved to where it kind of restricts you in a way of just like the way you move, the things you do, the how you see things. You know, it's a lot of thought patterns, and I would say religions that keep people in that box, you know, to where they feel like they can't express themselves the way they want to. Well, honestly, I feel like we at a place where we can uniquely be ourselves, and we should truly be our true selves and should be accepted for who we are truly, you know. But a lot of times people don't feel like they can be who they are at the core, you know, which is kind of the unfortunate part. But because like I said, it's around the belief systems. It's around what they believe that, you know, they'll feel wrong for, you know, thinking a different way or, you know, being this way. Because I'm pretty sure like a lot of people out in the world, you know, have, you know, just are skeptics, you know, but sometimes that gets hindered, you know, based off they was like, you know, what would people think, you know, if I think this way, if I get involved in this, you know, because if you're born in certain traditions, you might not feel that you can't express yourself, and you get stuck into that.
It's beyond tradition. It's also upbringing. Like, I was raised in an environment where nobody had a conversation with me. No one asked me how I was doing. No one asked me what I learned today, or like asked me my opinion on things. They just put a TV or a computer screen in front of me and like kept the children with the children and the adults with the adults. That didn't change my level of competence and like my communication skill, which that's something I had to develop. Like I've been working on my communication skills for like the last 11 years consciously, and that was a choice.
Yeah.
I share that to say our upbringing also influence who we are. However, going back, it's up to us to really be honest with ourselves. Who do we want to be, and what is it going to take to get there? Yeah. Like, if you would have heard me speak 10 years ago, like, you would not. But, like, it took me, I had to take remedial English, which is the English before college level. I had to take that class twice before I could get to college level. Like, I used to think I was, like, the dumbest person ever. Like, I didn't think that I would ever be competent enough to reach college level English. Yeah. Like, I was literally cry at night to be where I am today with my speech. Like, my accent is not even as thick as it used to be. I had to make that decision, though. Yeah. And I had to take it serious. Yeah. Yeah. So.
It's certain things that you have to get through to get to those points. I think a lot of times, first of all, I would like to speak on just the bravery of being your authentic self, you know. It takes real bravery to be able to just present yourself to the world like, hey, this is me, you know, and just stand on business.
Right. Just take it or leave it.
Like, this is me. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But this is my life, you know?
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage. I feel like I've always been so relentless in my authenticity, like to the best of my ability. Like, I'm still growing in that arena. Yeah. When it comes to being on camera, but catch me off camera and like I am unapologetic. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's powerful once you step into that too, you know. Another thing I wanted to talk about is just like how for like the women that's watching and the younger ladies that could possibly be watching, like how could you, in times of dark times where you feel like, you know, you're alone and no one is there, and you know, and you feel like this is like end all be all, like what are some things that you feel like could help assist them through those dark times?
You did ask me something like that earlier and I didn't answer. Let's say that we don't have access to books
Mm-hmm.
or a computer or a
Mm-hmm.
phone. The best bet I would say is just write yourself a letter.
Mm.
Like, what would, if you look at yourself from the outside looking in, and if you can give yourself advice, like, what would you say? And
Mm.
also really key in on finding inspiration. Like, start thinking about the people who inspire you. Who would you like to be? And like, focus your mind on like what you want versus what you don't want.
Yeah.
And just write in present tense. I love how
Mm-hmm.
authentic I am today. I love that today I feel happy and that I can do what I love,
Mm.
whatever that may be for you. Now, if you have access to books and you have access to the computer and the internet,
Mm-hmm.
pull up YouTube. Yo, YouTube is your friend. Ask
For sure.
YouTube, like, how can I get through this sadness? I just had this breakup. Like, I need help with this.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do this? Like, ask questions. Like,
Yeah.
never stop asking questions. Lean into curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Barnes and Noble. You don't have to buy the book. Spend time there. Go to the self-help section.
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, show me where I need to go, and just walk up to the book. It's gonna show you. Like,
Wow.
you're gonna see exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And yeah, just knowledge.
Knowledge.
Learn questions. Ask questions.
Yeah. You know, I think you hit on a lot of good points. That's well needed. I feel like in those times, it's kind of hard to see like that. Those are like lessons for the soul. You know, like do you feel like in those times it's really teaching you something? It's really even if, but see, it's kind of hard to process because people, men and women who went through some real dark times, to see that it was, you know, a true lesson for them to learn for themselves, you know, and it's hard to see that and hard for them to think like, why would this happen for my own good?
I love that you
Yeah.
mentioned that. Everything happened. Everything is happening for us, not to us.
Mm.
And with that, that mantra has got me through so much.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, a lot of people don't resonate with this. However, I really stand by this. Everything that we're experiencing has a lesson within it. So
Yes.
instead of why me, which is the victim mindset, ask, what is there for me to learn? What am I not understanding? What's the pattern here? What is trying to, like, what am I being taught?
Mm-hmm.
And just being honest with yourself and allowing yourself to feel that truth, because it's easy to judge yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really allowing yourself to be compassionate with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and gentle with yourself through the process. Not judge yourself, but observe yourself
Mm-hmm.
and allow yourself to really see yourself clearly. Like, think of it like a movie character. Like, when you watch movie, you're discerning of the character's behavior. Like,
Yeah.
look at yourself in that way.
That's yes, 100%. I've heard that before. I'm happy you brought that back into my conscious with that aspect. It's like you see them going through that whole journey, and it's like you observing and you seeing the ups and the downs, and you witnessing it. And you should definitely view yourself like that. Be the witnesser
Witnesser, yeah.
of what happens. But see, suffering happens when you hold on to those experiences, right? We going through this life and observing everything that's going on, but through life there's a certain attachment we keep to those experiences that happen, that come through, and we hold on to that, right? And sometimes it's hard to let that go, and people will be stuck on one thing, and their whole life gets affected by that one traumatic instance, and it affects their relationships, it affects their friendships, it affects their work, you know, and that attachment to that is causing that suffering.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it made me think about our belief system and what we ruminate about in our mind is what creates our reality.
Yeah.
So if you're fearful of losing something, you're creating more opportunities to lose that something. It's all about reprogramming the mind.
Changing that paradigm.
You're the main character, right? It's your movie. Since it's your movie, you're the main character. You direct it. What do you want? You can't tell what you want until you really look at yourself. They say some people don't know they have a pimple until you tell them. Well, you don't know what you need until you really look into yourself.
Exactly. Know what you truly want.
Yeah, that's the thing. Being honest with yourself. Because sometimes it's like, for example, I always wanted to move to Miami. But I used to be a motherly sister. And I felt like my siblings needed me. I felt like my grandmother needed me. So I sacrificed my joy and my want to be in Miami for them. I made that decision around them. And like, if I could talk to my inner self, I would encourage her to follow her dreams and go hurry up, move to Miami. Because in order to be the best sister and the best granddaughter, I had to feel fulfilled. I was not the best granddaughter or sister for a while because I wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy because I was choosing what I wanted based on maintaining peace. And guess what? I moved and they're still going through what they're going through. Like, me waiting and prolonging my move did not influence anything for them.
Yeah.
It's still the same thing. So it's
exactly. It's about following your heart.
Yeah, making decisions for you and not for anyone else.
Yeah.
Because when we think of others, that's when we're setting limits on ourselves.
Exactly.
I take that with a grain of salt. If you have a child, like, of course you can't. There's
certain navigations, you know.
Yeah.
But you're making a good point, you know. It's not because like I said, well, like you said, it's like putting others. Big Sean said this. He said this in his one of his songs, and it was like he said, what did he say? I think it was like just giving. He was basically saying, I don't remember what he said verbatim, but it was just like giving that attention to everybody, and now it's just pieces of me. You know what I'm saying? It's like putting everybody in front of you, and you literally leaving yourself with this much. You trying to fill everybody else's glass, and you don't have nothing in your own glass. You know what I'm saying? So it's always about making sure that you're fulfilling yourself, like how you said, and making sure that you're following what your intuition is telling you, and really following that and trusting in that. And it's still going to work out. Like how you said, you still move. Now they're still, you know, dealing with the same things. But if you would have moved earlier, it would have been the same. You know, just moving when you feel, or just moving on things when you really feel it. I feel like that's a great point that you made. I do want to ask you too, is what, like, now I know that being in college helped you get to the point of spirituality and understanding the deeper things, but like, what led you to astrology? This the go-to topic right here.
I've loved astrology before I was even born. I really believe that, because there's this man called Walter Mercado, and he had a segment for the news anchor channel, 15 minutes, where he did the horoscope. And I grew up watching that, like my family watching the news and waiting for Walter to come up, and they would all listen to their horoscope.
Wow.
I did that all my life. That means I was in the womb, like, watching that. So I've always enjoyed it as a kid. I always loved astrology. However, I only knew the sun signs. So I've been studying the sun signs consciously since I was like 10.
Yeah.
And then I was about 20 when I discovered the moon sign and everything else.
Yeah.
So astrology has always been life for me.
Yeah.
It was just no one really resonated with it. It was a taboo topic. So it's just something that I utilize with like within myself and maybe my little inner circle, like slightly.
Yeah.
It took a while, like after college, I took time off to like really figure out what am I going to do with all my knowledge? What am I going to create? I knew that I was an entrepreneur. It was just like, what did it look like? And finally, like, I had this epiphany, like, I could make a career out of being an astrologer like Walter Mercado did. Like, Walter Mercado was actually, like, the first astrologer to be on television, like, sharing astrology. So astrology's been life.
Since the womb.
Yes, I really believe it.
Astrology is beautiful.
It's a great tool.
It's definitely beautiful when you know how to utilize it and you really dive deep. You know, me and Indigo spoke on that on my previous podcast of astrology. It's very important. You know, it's a snapshot. It's a snapshot of your destiny. It's a snapshot of your potential in this lifetime. You know, I feel like it's like a what you call it, what they give you in school when like the first day of school, they'll give you like a paper of like what's to come in the class curriculum or it's somewhat syllabus. It's pretty much like your life syllabus. It's
absolutely like, I agree.
It's like it's showing you all the things that could be possibilities.
It's a life blueprint for sure.
Exactly. So that love for astrology, how did you also gained a new love? You gained a love for astrocartography.
Oh wow, yeah. Along my journey, individuality and authenticity has always been a thing for me. And I remember like looking at the media and I'm like, yo, I'm not your typical astrologer. Like I just couldn't find what made me different. And it really made me hesitate. And I just kept doing research and just kept searching. And I'm like, yo, what type of astrologer am I? Like, how am I going to show up? And I discovered astrocartography and it just clicked for me.
Yeah.
Like, I've been to 18 schools in my life. Like, I've moved from state to state multiple times through my life. And I've also, like, on my own, I chose Charlotte, North Carolina, and I chose
Shout
Miami.
out to Charlotte.
CLT. Those are the two cities I chose myself.
Yeah.
And then learning, like, what that meant for me, it showed me I've been following my soul without knowing. I didn't choose Miami based on astrocartography. I chose Miami because my soul told me this is where I belong. The same way I chose Charlotte because it just felt right. And so learning astrocartography aspect of things really showed me like this is what makes me different. Like I'm the queen of moving. I've done this.
Yeah.
And I love to travel. And it's something that's not discussed often.
Okay, so can you give the audience what does astrocartography mean? What are the benefits of knowing your astrocartography chart? Like,
well, astrocartography is astrology and cartography mixed together. So at the moment we were born, the planets were somewhere. And that's why it's important to know your birth time, to know exactly where the planets were, because wherever these planets were hovering over the world, we can capitalize on its energy. We can capitalize on its energy to monetize our knowledge, to feel more at home, to find love.
Yeah.
To tap into our spirituality, to tap into our capacity to rebel, like anything that you need support with, there's a place in the world for it. That's why it's important to actually know where you are or where you belong, because there might be incidents which just happens to a lot of people are born in zones they don't belong. And it doesn't matter how much inner work they do, they don't seem to see the progress. And it's because of the influences of the planets. So it's definitely a great tool for relocation and travel. Yeah. There's people who travel to certain places and it's a disaster. They go to a place that's influenced by Pluto or something. So
me.
It's not really. Wasn't you born in a Plutonian zone.
Yeah, you know, Memphis was going straight through. I mean, I said Pluto was going straight through Memphis, right? Which is crazy. And shout out to Astro Kit. Her name is Astro Kit on YouTube. She was the one that I was watching her videos, and that introduced me to astrocartography. But I realized that Pluto was going like literally. You know, sometimes like it might just be like going past, like not in the same state, but kind of like close. Like literally, it's going straight through, right? And it's like my experience in Memphis represented. You know, I spoke about this in the first podcast. Just a little. I think the audience probably. I didn't break down astrocartography. I was actually waiting. I was like, you know, I know I'm going to have a conversation with you, but I said this in the first podcast about just the energy of being in Memphis and how that, you know, knowing that that was my Pluto line, you know, area, is just that I went through so many transformations in Memphis, and the challenges was there, and it presented itself, and it was like I had a beautiful time in Memphis. Like I feel like the transformations were beautiful, you know, that I was able to come from a place where, you know, it's different, you know, it's kind of like one of them things where, you know, the culture is so strong, and the culture is like, you can easily get caught into that, of just like that experience of just getting, I would say, getting lost in the sauce there, you know, because it could have been several opportunities for me to go down the wrong path, you know, because Memphis, the young guys in Memphis, man, we got to do better. But you could easily go down the wrong path in Memphis, and the energy is kind of just, it's a little like stagnant, you know. And I still made it into Lemonade, you know. I still created beautiful relationships and met friends that are very like important to my life, you know, to this day. But the challenges was there. Like I definitely had to learn a lot. I had to go through a lot. Like when I tell you I had like I've changed so many times. Like you can ask my friends about just the changes that I experienced in Memphis, of like, you know, one moment, one era I'm this, and one era I'm that. Like I'm going from different phases after phases, and even though that it is a challenging sign, I felt like it was very important for me, and that was a part of my destiny. But once I understood astrocartography for real, I was like, I gotta get up out of here. I was like,
out.
yeah, I was like, it's time. You know, I was like, it is time I want to go somewhere, so where it's more easy for me. You know, I wanted to see somewhere to where it could be more easy for my spirit and my experience. I wanted to see what the difference will be. Cause, you know, like I told you, the sun line is going through, it's kind of going through like on the Tennessee side, going through Atlanta, but you know, Charlotte is right on that right side. So I was like, I didn't see no other cities over here that I would really be interested in going in, but Charlotte made the most sense. One thing that you told me that I didn't understand too, that you really explained, is that even on the charts about the ascendant and the symbols on the side and the breakdowns of how important is that. Because that's a detail. I've been into it for a while, but I'd never thought about that.
Yeah, so every planet has a different angle.
Yeah.
And the angle of the planet influences the energy.
Yeah.
Do you know what angle you're in? You said the rising?
It was ascendant sun, right?
Right. So look at you starting your podcast. You started there. The rising sun influences how you present yourself in the world. It makes you more conscious of like how you're showing up, and it helps you stand more authentic in yourself. And it also attracts certain energies to you. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you encountered people and experiences that kind of showcase your spokesmanship and like put you in spaces to like really see like, oh, this is my skill. Like I need to hone in on it.
Yeah. Like, you know, it's crazy that I said when I got to Charlotte, it's just like everything started like coming together, you know? This ginger tea is amazing, by the way.
Hey.
Oh, but yeah, it's everything is like registering more once I got to Charlotte. You know, it's like I was be able to put things into gear. I was like, okay, this is coming together. This is coming together. Like I'm ready. Um, so what are the? Can we go through like the positive signs and the negative signs when we talking about where the lines are? Like, you know, Mars is a interesting line, right?
You know, I feel like there's no good or bad line. I feel like it's all a matter of where you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, like, we're talking about Mars, for example. Mars is the planet of action, assertion, passion.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you show up in the world, how you assert yourself. If a lot of us need that energy. Like, for example, me, like, I be deep in my feminine in the sense of, like, I could, like, meditate and just, like, flow and chill all day. However, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I need to take action. I need to do more. And when I travel to my Mars line, I have all the energy and vitality that I need to take more action. It's like, instead of, like, daydreaming about what I want to do, I have more vitality to do it. Now, what if you have a lot of, like, action energy?
Yeah.
And you're very, like, rah already in your masculine, and you find yourself in your Mars.
Yeah.
That might be too much energy for you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not ideal to be in that energy, or maybe it just causes you to be more mindful of how you spirit your energy. However, let's say you reach a point of depression and that energy goes down, going to Mars can help you. So it's really about navigating where you are as a person.
Yeah.
If you're a delusional person and you end up on your Neptune line, yeah, that might be a little chaotic because it's going to emphasize your delusion. The Neptune energy of delusion is not necessarily a horrible thing. That's the new era right now. We're in the Delulu era.
Exactly.
So we can actually capitalize on delusion. However, if you already delusional, that might be a little dangerous. So it's not necessarily good or bad.
Wow.
It's just knowing who you are, knowing where you are.
Yeah.
And knowing what planetary line is influencing you is really the key.
So I've looked into this and I feel like you can give some insights on this. It's like, could there be a place? Now, we know Venus. Like, just say if somebody in their mind, they was looking at their chart, it was like, I want to go somewhere to where I can possibly find love, find more love interest, right? Do you think that if somebody was to visit or relocate to their Venus line, would it be more easier for them to find a lover because of that energy?
That's a good question. Venus is not always necessarily a good line to live in. For example, I have a Venus stellium.
Yeah.
So I already embody a lot of that Venus energy. I'm already flowing, and I already by default put myself in a lot of spaces to have pleasure and to have what I want to do, do, right? In a space influenced by Venus, I will overindulge. I'll spend more.
Yeah.
I'll do less. I'll just be focused on pleasure.
Yeah.
So for someone like me, my Venus energy might not be so beneficial, which is very interesting. However, someone that don't have a lot of Venus energy, they might benefit. Yes, they will benefit from it because it would enhance their charm. It will enhance their energy so that they can vibrate at a frequency to attract the love. Because it's not the planet, it's the frequency that is emitting for you, and it's where it's helping you elevate your energy, and your energy attracts things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And also, my bad to interject, aspects in astrology. So if you have a negative aspect, it could also affect the influence of the Venus.
Yeah, so basically you're saying that one thing that I didn't think about, that your actual astrology chart connects with astrocartography, right?
Absolutely. Like knowing where is your sun, what house is your sun is in. Where's your sun at?
My sun is in the 8th house.
Your sun is in, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense because Charlotte is a Scorpio city. Yeah. Wow.
And it makes sense of everything that's going on right now. That 8th house energy, that Scorpio energy is heavy. And my Mercury is in the 8th house too.
Wow. You would be in a scorpionic city experiencing your sun. That's deep. Like me, I live on my sun rising line. My sun is in the first house, but I live in a Leo city. And Leo rules the sun. So it's like there's more synergy there. Wow. And my sun is with my Mercury as well. I wonder, that's interesting.
That is.
Does the sun and Mercury travel together? Not necessarily. That's only for us because our sun and our Mercury placement is the same. You know, you have a Leo Mercury, right? Yeah. So if you have those lines typically can travel near each other depending on their movement.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. See, that's one of the aspects I didn't think about, just including astrology, your astrology chart in it. Speaking of, we don't have to go through all the signs, but like another place I feel like is some places are necessarily. Do you think you have to relocate? Would you feel the effects when you be there for vacation? Like, does the effects hit you soon you step into that energy? Do you have to move there, or can you just travel there for vacation and you'll still feel that?
There's a lot of different philosophies around that. Apparently, like, you can spend time there and you could bring that energy with you for about 2 years, I believe, because you tapped in. You tapped into the frequency. Now you carry it with you. Yeah. You know what it feels like. A lot of times, all we need is to know what it feels like.
Yeah. I think when I went to Vegas, I think my Mars line is close to Vegas. We're back.
Peace.
Battery died, y'all, but we back in session now. But yeah, I was speaking on how that was like 3 weeks. It was like early September.
Question: when did you record your first podcast audio?
It was
after Vegas.
It was after Vegas.
You see, you're still in it. You came on a trip. You didn't care. You packed all your stuff. You didn't think about if it was inconvenient or not. You didn't even have solidify within yourself that we were going to have this podcast, even though I know you had one with Indigo. But don't you see the action you're taking for your podcast? Yeah. Like, the energy's with you.
Wow. So you're saying that once you go to a place, it sticks
for some time, and it's up to you to capitalize on it.
Wow.
The tools are all there. We still play a role. Like, how bad do you want it? You really wanted this podcast. You invested on all the equipment. It was a matter of things aligning more. You take this trip to Vegas. Now you're in Miami. Yeah. A Leo city.
Exactly.
And you're doing that thing. You're on your third episode. How many weeks? How long did it take you to record all 3 episodes? I know you did 2 in one day. And when was the first one?
Last week.
You're on a roll, and you're already editing. You're learning new skills. Yep. Like, you're taking all the action.
Yeah, it's all happening fast, but it's like it's flowing so perfectly.
I might need to take a trip back to my Mars line.
Yeah. But also Mars line energy for sure. But also it was just once, cause it really got expedited once I knew I was coming here, and I knew I wanted to have these conversations with y'all. So I was like, I need to make sure I do my first episode before I leave. So that kind of like, which probably was that Mars energy too. But also just beginning of this year, I spoke about it in my first podcast of just like anything that I want to do, I would literally follow it with no just hesitancy. Like, now it's just like to the point where I don't want to leave this life without any regrets.
Period.
Anything that comes to surface in my body, I want to do it. And I feel like it's power of following your heart and listening to it. It's I think, because a lot of times you might think like, what if it all goes wrong? But like the universe, I didn't even mention to say this. I didn't say this in my first episode, but I want to say this now. It's a quote from The Alchemist that I forgot to say, that when you want something, the universe conspires everything for it to happen.
The universe conspires in my favor. That's actually one of my mantras I say every day.
And it's like the universe like really connects with you once it knows that like you really want this. Like it's like, okay, but it's also just the energy and the frequency, right? It sees that you have a desire, you putting in the action, and then letting that manifest. Because a lot of times you can like just have the imagination part, but not doing nothing about it. Right. Yeah, just like, wishful thinking, You can just be in there and it's like, I want this to happen, but it's like, what actions are you taking to get to that point?
Right. It's like, who do you have to become to achieve your intended goals?
Yeah, it's basically about stepping into that person that you want to be. That's what Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks about a lot, is that reality is there. It's literally whatever you want to be is literally here, right? It's just on that frequency channel, right? It's just like they always speak about manifestation and law of attraction is just like a radio station, right? You're on the radio, you listening to the radio, and you want to hear something else, so you tune to the next frequency to hear it. And with frequencies and bringing things into your life, you just have to tune yourself into that frequency. And it's like, that's why people say, if you want to be a millionaire, if you want to be anything, like, act like it, become it.
Yeah, like really tuning into what is the lifestyle and implementing it into your life.
Yeah. And your subconscious will believe it to be true, you know? We spoke on that. Me and Indigo spoke on that on the last podcast. And I think y'all should really take that in and really, really reflect on that. Everything is within reach of anything that you want to accomplish. You can literally alchemize anything you want into this existence. That's why I just like watching your journey and seeing the beauty of how you were able to alchemize your experiences and not be held to them. Right? It's like going through it, but also you said something. You said something on your Instagram that stuck with me too. It was just like, basically, it was like it was like basically like your pleasing was a way to kind of get through things, but now it's just like you reverse that, and now that pleasing led to you just wanting to heal. You want to heal others from that state, of that place that you came from. It's just that reversing that energy. Like I used to think of things differently and reacted to, maybe not did the things I want to do, but it's like now I have the opportunity. I did the inner work to be better and to actually use that experiences that I went through and use that knowledge and wisdom to help heal others, instead of like the things that we experience in life could hold you down to where it's just that it keeps you in a hole. But watching your story, you didn't let your history, you didn't let your dark times lead you into a place of that hole. You was like, no, I want to use that, and I want to alchemize that, and I want to be that person to heal others, and use this opportunity to let me change that around. Yeah.
It's like I transmuted my skills into something that worked for me, more authentic to me. He keeps talking about my story, y'all, and y'all have no idea what my story is.
If you want to give a piece, I think if you want to give a piece of the story of that, when I speak of it, it's just that, I want you to speak on what you will want to,
Right.
what you
No,
feel comfortable with.
yeah, I'm pretty comfortable speaking on this topic. I was sexualized most of my life, and that led to me being more ruthless with how I shared my body. So I did spend some time through college working in the sex industry while I also studied these spiritual concepts. So in the beginning of my healing journey and in my teaching journey, I was pleasing men, but also healing men. I was doing the chakra, because I am certified in chakra healing and in crystal Reiki. So I was practicing on my clients in the sex industry, which was really interesting. And like, I knew once I got deeper into my spiritual journey, I knew like this working in this industry is not conducive to the woman I want to be.
Yeah.
So I had to let that industry go and then really tune into like, well, how am I going to show up in the world when my skill set comes from pleasing men? Like, what am I going to do? I learned that I did have a lot of transmutable skills. Like, I understand people.
Yeah.
I'm empathetic. Like, I was able to really like just switch it up, and I went from pleasing men to helping women who went through things similar that I did, physical, sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And just helping women reprogram their life. Well, no, not reprogram their mind and redesign their life.
Yeah.
And that's like a little glimpse. So if anybody knows what it's like to hate what they do every day, it's me. Yeah. And I was able to really transmute all of that. And now, like, I wake up enthusiastic. Like,
Yeah.
whose chart am I reading today? Who am I going to help meditate today? What sound am I going to edit today? Like,
yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really about a choice.
Yeah.
Making the choice, and even if it doesn't happen in that moment, like letting that seed grow. And I went from hating my mom and my dad to now having a relationship with them and forgiving them for their quote unquote neglect that led to me being in spaces where I was abused as a kid. So I'm not mad. And that's also, I can't really explain that, because like, even before I started my spiritual journey, I wasn't that traumatized kid that bullied people or like was necessarily angry with the world. I was just neglectful of myself because I didn't know how to take care of myself or love myself, because I didn't feel like I knew what that meant. I had to teach myself that.
Yeah.
And it was, nobody told me to do it. It was just, it just was in me. It was something I wanted, and I had to take action. And I feel like that's been the theme of this podcast episode today. Like making, like deciding, taking action.
Yeah.
And taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
Be relentless.
Yeah. And on that path, like, what are your thoughts on forgiveness? How do you feel about forgiveness? Because traumatic things and having experiences of the things that you spoke about, it's hard to forgive.
I actually have a guided meditation on YouTube about self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that because along my journey, it took me a while to realize that we're so focused on forgiving others, but really we got to start with forgiving ourselves. Like, example for me, when I was getting sexually exploited by my stepdad, I never yelled. I never told on him. I mean, he manipulated me pretty well. But either way, like, I can't be mad at my mom for being neglectful without really looking at myself for not speaking up for myself.
Yeah.
So it took a while for me to realize I need to forgive myself. So forgiveness really starts with yourself.
Yeah.
Regardless of how traumatic the experience was, there's still a level of self-forgiveness that is needed.
Yeah.
And then you can forgive someone else, because you can't give someone more than you give yourself. Like, even if you try, it's never going to be full.
Yeah.
So yeah, forgiving yourself, accepting yourself, and then you could look at someone else. and actually start this journey of forgiving them.
Mm.
And also realizing that whatever experience whatever you experience with people, and this is not to justify anybody's actions,
Yeah.
like they're still a human having a human experience on their own journey. Like it's
Wow.
never fully about you. Like
Yeah.
it's about them also. So being able to have compassion and see them as an individual versus a predator or whatever, which that's not taking away from their actions, is just really, really looking at them. And yeah.
Yeah, that's deep.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's a perspective that you have to really grow to have.
I don't know where it came from, but I found it in me.
Yeah, like what you spoke on is, I think, like how you said, forgiveness it's not really for them. It's for yourself, and I think I think that's why it's beautiful when you can just, because that forgiving yourself will make it easier of letting it go. That's why it's like it's not for other people, but it's for yourself, so you can be able to let that situation go. Because it's hard to let go of things. Well, honestly, that energy, I would say that energy it stays in you. That energy stays in you until you can forgive it, to forgive that energy that's inside you, because if you don't forgive it or you hold that grudge for your whole life, that energy
Eats you up.
It eats you up and it stays there. And I think, hearing your story and what you're talking about, I think it's beautiful that you was able to do that. I'm happy that you made it through, and I'm also just grateful that you were able to express that story with me, and and be vulnerable and open to share that story on my podcast. So I appreciate that, and I think that's powerful. I think for anybody that has went through things, that's the journey. It's forgiving yourself and working on that process. But forgiveness is a journey. It's not easy.
I thought I forgave my mom 10 years ago.
Yes.
And then I figured out last year that I hadn't. You can intellectually forgive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different thing to in practice forgive. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I want to say, I forgot to say this too, but it's one of my favorite quotes from Yeshua, aka Jesus. He said, "Forgive those because they don't know what they do." Basically, I'm a paraphrase. They don't know what they do, right? And that's just speaking from a spiritual stance. It gets so deep because those people that are those types, the people who just like doing all the wrong things, they not knowing how it's affecting the other person. They're not thinking about the life-threatening effects that it can cause onto another person. They're not thinking about just all of the consequences that come from it's purely from a selfish point of view, right? But that's just ignorance. And it's because when Yeshua looks at it like that, it's like they don't know that we're all connected. They don't know that we are one of the same. Mm-hmm. And it has to be a little, I know it's hard to give grace for traumatic things. Who am I to speak on that, but the grace of knowing that they don't know what they do. And they don't know the conscious effects of it. And that's a powerful saying in itself.
Yeah, as we heal ourselves, we heal each other as well.
Yeah.
And if we really want to make an impact in the world, if we really want to love our people for real, we got to pour into ourselves.
Yeah.
And we don't have to understand everything. We just got to focus on soothing ourselves, being gentle with ourselves and accepting ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it all starts with ourselves.
Exactly.
We're the most important person in our life. Not your husband, not your wife, not your mother, not your child. It's you.
Yeah, exactly. They come second. Make sure yourself is taken care of. You know, and starting with you is everything. Because once you do that inner work, you do all of that, it's going to impact everything. It's going to change everything. We have to, as a collective, know that we're not disconnected from each other. We all connected, you know, and it's all somebody coming in? 2 doors open. Yes, 2 doors open. My boy Indigo into the chat. But yeah, it's all good. But yeah, it's important to know that we're all connected and we all in this experience with each other. You know, I wanna ask you about how important. You know, I see that you're a sound healer. What got you into that level and that plane of sound healing, and what got you into that field?
Well, I mentioned my juvenile justice class, right?
Yeah.
In the juvenile justice class, I discovered how much influence music has on us. So
Exactly.
I turned off music.
You turned off music.
And then, I turned off lyrics, and I was just listening to like instrumentals and lo-fi.
Yeah.
I pursued a yoga teacher training. And in the yoga teacher training, they expose you to a lot of different healing modalities. And I remember a sound healer came. I had never heard of sound healing. You know, I'm from the Bronx, Dominican. I don't know about that stuff.
Yeah.
And my mind was blown.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, F yoga teacher training.
Really?
This is me right here. And I literally never went back to yoga teacher training. I probably got like 25 hours in my belt.
Wow.
And I went on a pursuit of sound healing. And to make a long story short, COVID happened and I had to teach myself. I was going to go to school in San Francisco and it didn't work out. Well, first of all, I got to San Francisco. I didn't like it. And I was just like,
I hear a lot of people give me negative reviews on San Francisco.
Well, as a single woman living in a van, San Francisco is not a safe place.
Oh, yeah. You definitely lived the van life too. Yeah.
So
yeah, I can understand that.
Energetically. And I was so sad.
Yeah.
And then that same week, like the whole COVID thing happened.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, girl, at this point, I don't know if I was uncomfortable staying there because my energy felt COVID was about to happen.
Yeah.
Or if it was San Francisco. So to be determined.
Wow.
I taught myself sound healing and I learned that we're 70% water, like our body's 70% water. Our brain is 90% water. And water holds memory. There's a scientist called you know what? His last name is Emoto. Look him up. The Japanese scientist Emoto proved that water retains memory. That means that everything that you hear, see, experience stores in your body. My favorite, I have 2 examples I love.
Okay.
First one, wherever in your body you feel my voice right now is where you are storing this conversation.
Wow.
And wherever you listen to a song and you get out the car, for example, and you could still hear it playing.
Yeah.
It's the song recording within you, and what the vibrations of the sound healing instruments do.
Yeah.
Is clear that out for you.
Wow.
Clear that out. And what makes sound healing different from the music we listen to on the radio is the music on the radio is predictable because it has a rhythm. Therefore, you're not really relaxing because you're anticipating the next step.
Yeah.
With these sound bowls, gong, or different instruments, there's no rhythm.
Yeah.
So you're like forced to surrender.
Yeah. I would look. It's to touch on the water part and that part that you talked about of how, you know, our body is 67% water, 70% water, and he speaks on like that. Scientists, man, I remember reading that book about how things crystallize in your body. The crystals, You know, he was doing a study on water and how if you was speaking positive to the water, it would turn into like beautiful crystals. But like if you was like speaking like hate and just anger to that water, it would be like just distorted crystal. It wouldn't look so good. So it's like how you said, that and that sound and that frequency is important for your body, and it can heal and it can bring positive effects to that inside. So that's a good point. I feel like the frequency level, like you let us play around with the third eye bowl, and that was the first time I ever actually played with a sound bowl before. And we was doing it at night, and it was like I closed my eyes and it was just like amazing. I was like, wow, like I could feel it in my body, the sound in my body. I could just feel, and it was just amazing. And it raised a lot of like just curiosity of like the impact of sound. You know, like the different hertz. Like, do you know like how you said the bowls that you have, it gives off different. Like for chakras, it's important to get some that's different for chakras and stuff like that. Like you have sacral, root. Like how important is sound for like your chakra centers and your energy centers?
It's vital.
Yeah.
It's vital. And one of the cool things is like you don't need all 7 bowls.
Yeah.
Because let's say you have your crown chakra bowl. However, all the chakras work together. So by stimulating your crown, you're balancing the other chakras. And it's energy. So if you're listening to frequencies that affect your energy, like 808, it's like clashing and affecting your flow.
Yeah, music is
everything.
Yeah. Also, like that's like when we speak on like diet, it's not just food. It's also music. It's also
entertainment.
It's also information. It's also social media. What are you listening to? What are you watching? And speaking on music is so powerful. I think it's moderation. I'm a person that still listens to all different type of genres, but it's definitely important for you to give time to listen to, especially like listen to songs with no lyrics. And listen to like high frequency music is important to go to sleep to too, right?
The key, if we're going to be listening to music that doesn't serve our highest good, the key is to listen to it in the middle of the day. Like start your day with high frequency, end your night with high frequency. It's like a sandwich.
Do you think like high frequency music can help you manifest? Like it can...
absolutely. It raises your frequency. You manifest based on your energy, right? So the higher frequency music, you manifest with emotion too. When you're angry, if you can have it in you to transmute that anger into writing about your desires or focusing on what you want, you'll manifest a lot faster. It's a stronger energy. So emotion is definitely a tool that enhances manifestation. I believe that some of my fastest manifestations happen through anger and through sadness. Like you either dwell in that emotion or you transmute it and utilize it as a force to propel you forward. So next time you get upset, instead of like focusing on raging out, focus on like, what do you want? What do you want? Like, what do you want? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to live? How do you want to feel? Shoot, this house right here, I remember I was crying at the park down the street, and I was crying over some other things happening in life, and I was just like, somehow I got distracted with the ambiance, and I'm like, yo, I wish I could just live on this street. That was in February of 2023, and then in May of 2023, I was invited to live in this house, like quite literally. 3 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was living on the 24th floor in a high rise, and I thought that's what I wanted. And it felt, as a nature enthusiast, it made me feel too disconnected from earth. So I was like, oh, I want to live on land. I want fruit trees. And I thought I had to like leave the city for that. And I was anticipating for that. But then I told myself, like, let me just relax. And then I had the thought about living on this street. I wasn't thinking about a house either.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll check the house out. And we have a mango tree.
Wow.
And like, I got what I wanted plus some.
Plus more.
Because I use my sadness to focus on what I actually want.
That's different. I never looked at it that way.
It's a superpower.
Wow.
Yeah. Now sometimes I wish I got upset sooner, like more, so I could use that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Wow. Okay, I have to ask you.
What's up?
We all on this journey, right? And I love asking people this. At this point of your life now, do you feel like you got a good grasp of your life purpose?
I do.
What is that? What is it?
First of all, I feel like a big part of my purpose is holding a safe space for people to be their most authentic self and helping people just feel safe and calm. Like, I know so many people that don't know how to slow down, but all they have to do is like just sit with me and they're like, wait, this is kind of weird, but I like it. Like, let me sit back. That's key, one. And also, like, I'm just here to inspire people to be authentic and inspire people to really reprogram their mind and direct their life. Wow. How I do that, it varies. You know, today I'm doing it through sound. Tomorrow I'll do it through astrology. Another time I'll do it through a conversation. However, it's definitely like just being me. Wow. Being the most authentic me and sharing my wisdom in the right spaces, right?
Exactly.
Like when the student is ready, the teacher arrives, and being able to discern when my wisdom is necessary and when it's just meant for me to just help people bask in my energy. Yeah.
Yeah, like you were speaking on yesterday, it was so interesting about your experience with ayahuasca, right? We got to speak on that too. We have to speak on that. Let's not end this podcast without speaking about that. Ayahuasca, plant medicine. Yeah, you were speaking about how you was in those settings and you wanting to just be there for everybody, right? And because ayahuasca is such a deep healing process, and I haven't did ayahuasca yet, but I watched many experiences on ayahuasca, and hearing your story about how, you know, being there in that retreat and how you wanted to be there and care for everybody and you couldn't.
Restrictions. So for those of us that don't know, ayahuasca is a plant medicine. And it's like a tea brewed from a very particular plant in the jungle of like Peru. I believe that they have it in Colombia and Ecuador. Don't quote me. So this tea helps us connect to Mother Earth, your higher self. It's your higher self and like a feminine energy. And this brew helps you like detox your body, mind, body, and spirit. It helps you cleanse your energy and just helps you hone in. Coming from the sex industry, I felt like it was necessary for me to cleanse the energy of all the men I've slept with and all the men I've pleased in other ways. That's why I went hard. I did 5 sessions back to back. Yeah. Go hard, go home. They told me that could cleanse my energy. I was like, let's go. I need it now. And in these retreats, there's multiple, you know, we're in a circle and people are consuming this brew for their own reason. And we're not allowed to interact. Only the facilitators can interact. And I have a bleeding heart. Cancer moon here.
Cancer moon.
With a Libra
nurturer.
Yeah. And I couldn't help people. Yeah. And it was so challenging because now that I think back, just me being in that space, I was being of service. I kind of share that. I have a couple of poems and I actually say that, like, you don't have to talk to me. Like, just be around me and you'll get the vibes.
Yeah. that Libra and Cancer moon, Libra sun, Cancer moon, that was just like, that's a given to be in those situations and want to nurture and be there for other people, you know. That's a recipe for that. I think the ayahuasca, I brought up the whole thing to talk about how you speaking on how possibly, you know, you get into the field of like, was it like shamanism? Is it like being, you know?
I don't know if I want to be a shaman per se. However, as an individual who holds safe containers for people to be authentic, it's just facilitating the resources that can support that journey. Ayahuasca is known to, one experience could be more powerful than 20 years of therapy, right?
Yes.
So holding space for that. And it's in alignment. I've already held space for people to do mushrooms. I've held space for people to do shanga, which is a different plant medicine mixed with DMT.
Yeah.
And yeah, the medicine, it spoke.
They call it the mother for the reason, you know.
Yeah.
And ayahuasca is like, I feel like that's the ultimate level of plant medicine. You have the shrooms, and you have those other facets. DMT are in its levels to it, which I've only engaged in one plant medicine, but I definitely feel like I would definitely get into more of it, especially like on my 30th birthday. I do want to do ayahuasca. I want to try. Of that. No, we have to set that up. We have to go. I want to go to like Peru. Do
it in the jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want the whole experience.
No electricity, no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I want the whole experience.
No hot water.
Ain't no halfway. I want
no AC.
No AC. Just straight.
When you unplug from the world, you really get to plug into yourself. It's deep.
It's deep. And like how you say, it's not even in the daytime. It has to be in the nighttime.
It's a nighttime thing.
And that's something you have to sit through. Yeah.
No turning back. I felt like my head was cracked open. I felt like a tree was growing out of my head.
Wow.
It was deep.
You know, I always hear about that. It's like you feel like your body is disintegrating in front of you. It's like you witnessing your body disintegrate.
It's like you're this vehicle. You're really shown that this is just a vehicle.
Exactly. So
you're the driver.
You're the driver. Yeah, exactly. And you're the observer of the vehicle. Right? We renting out this space. That's why this is your home temporarily. Make it a good place to be at. Make it a comfortable and
the same way you change your car oil. The same way you add gas to you gonna make sure you add some gas to your tank.
Exactly.
So why can't you pour into yourself the same way?
You have to maintenance yourself. Maintenance is your own mechanic. Exactly. Look, we not able to see the check engine light come on, but I'm pretty sure
it's up to you to really tune in. To
tune into that. So I want to ask you, if you could leave the audience with one thing that they can feel and can take with them after this podcast, what would that one thing that you would tell somebody, you know, that can inspire on their journey that can give them just that little bit of clarity? One thing that I can. Now it can lead to it can be a longer than just it can be.
You know, journaling has been my secret sauce. So you're gonna take that notebook out and you gotta write it and just rewrite your story. What type of days do you have? What do you want to spend your time doing? If you're the epitome of getting paid to be yourself, what are you doing? What is it? And then this is where the real secret is. You gotta seal your writing with this or better for the highest good of all. Have a direction, but also give the universe some wiggle room to give you what you need. Because the universe is not going to give you what you want. It's going to give you what you need. And the more you know what you want, like, the more pleasant the experience is.
Yes.
So this or better for the highest good of all.
I say.
Write in present tense and focus on how you want to feel. Because you can have anything you want in life. But if you're not satisfied, if you don't feel content, that's not enough. Like, how many billionaires, millionaires we know that have committed suicide? They got
Yeah.
everything they wanted, but they didn't feel what they wanted. So it's like, how do you want to feel?
Mm.
This or better for the highest good of all.
That's that's the quote of the podcast right there. Wow. That's beautiful. Um, where could the people find you?
Ooh, I'm on Instagram and YouTube. Odyssey Transformations.
Okay.
On Instagram, I'm offering I'm focused on women, helping women reprogram their mind and redesign their life, utilizing astrology and sound meditation. But the guys, y'all could still follow. I post stuff about like self-help, and I help people keep self-healing and self-care in the forefront of their mind. And on my
Yeah.
YouTube, I share guided meditations. I'm also on Spotify and all streaming platforms.
Hey.
Odyssey Transformation, and on those platforms, I have my meditations. So
Love it. Love it. Well, that's it, you guys. We have reached the end. This is the Walking Towards Light podcast, and we all on the journey back to the light. Let's make each other's lives more loving, more peaceful, more comfortable, more everything for each other.
yeah, more satisfying.
More satisfying. You know, we all are in this. We all in this experience together. Let's help each other out. That's the whole point of this thing. We gotta get back to the golden age, and the only way we can, if we lock in, right? And that's it. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for tuning in. This has been a great podcast with
Thank you.
We have to do a part 2 in the future. I'm pretty sure. I think people want to hear us again. I think that's going to happen. That has to happen in the future. Thank y'all. I'm out.
Peace.
We out. Thank you. Let's go.